Well, I'd like to say good morning, but a lot of people don't think that we're having a good morning much anymore. So if we're truthful, are we punished for it? Maybe so. Well, if you found my YouTube, you've seen my stuff, you probably know my name, Michael Crosby. And yes, I'm a guy running for the presidency. I'm the one trying to push ethics, statesmanship, a new way for people to do things, and sometimes my stuff sounds crazy. But why not have a little experimentation, just as long as we can remember where our center is? Responsibilities this morning are recalling what are the priorities, what to do today, how to do the most doable items, how to recognize what's wrong with our reality, what's wrong with our country, maybe something about what's wrong with ourselves. So with me, I am concerned about the Democratic Convention. Unfortunately, the amount of money I would need to properly do the Democratic Convention is about $500,000. A lot of people are like, $500,000? Why would you need that much money? Well, I have special security concerns. It basically means that there are certain types of events that would cost more than others. Some of you might have noticed that not so long ago, we have somebody that got a hole drilled through their ear from a bullet. That can happen. There's a lot of people that were there for security, yet it didn't seem to work. Different people can actually have different problems security-wise. Currently, we have security problems that, in many ways, well, they come from decentralized insanity, so to speak. This is part of the problem of some people's reality. Unfortunately, it is actually a reality that people have to deal with. With me, I'm kind of curious because I've had 7 attempts on my life by gunfire, basically, over the course of my life. I've had 2 of them within the last several years here, from just after COVID started to the present. The most recent being about a year ago, as I recall. The interesting thing here is that different people have a different security matrix system, you could say, or if we want to focus a little bit different, they have a different security problems. Different people might want to shoot you for different reasons. Now we say to ourselves that we believe we've grown forward much, and that there apparently is no longer a large problem in the United States with assassinations. Yet other places in the world there are assassinations. A lot of people, that's how people move their politics. Sometimes their religion, many times their business. So we're supposed to have our own reality here in America. A tamer reality, a safer reality. And in many ways, we have had a lot of that. But comparatively, we don't necessarily have a guarantee that that is the way things will stay. So some of us believe we're dealing with the comparative choices out there of the economics and methodologies of running state, either from one candidate who is a convicted felon, or what would seem to be the new upcoming candidate, as viewed in the media, Kamala Harris, who laid out her economics involving her $25,000 enhancement item, proposed overall budget of about a $1.4 trillion layout that is not necessarily explained how that money is going to be dealt with. So she's talking about increasing the national debt. I'm apparently the only person on the board who has major solutionism. So my economic plan basically has methodologies to pay off the national debt in 3.5 years, while activating massive stimulus, massive new hard asset development. So in my travels through politics, gravitating from once the Republican Party to currently the Democratic Party, I am basically forced into an uphill battle because I had the state of California, I had Julie Su, I had Shirley Weber, I had Kamala Harris, I had many other people as basically direct participants in some various way attacking my income. I have 18 mobile broadcast RV units, effectively lost at the moment, even though they're all recorded in full 3D for the most part. Well, let's call it 70% CD. %, 3D. Yes, it's morning. So the reality that you have somebody like a Julie Su that is the person entrusted by the state and by Congress in the state of California at one time to convey finances, because decisions were made to order businesses shut down, a vast array of businesses, and order stay-at-home orders. So effectively, this worked out to shutting incomes down. Unfortunately, there is a series of laws we start with the Constitution and articles that state that you cannot attack a candidate's income. That is an act of war. And parties, if they are politically connected, well, their headline candidate is going to be basically disqualified. So we have Julie Sue, Shirley Weber, who have endorsed Kamala Harris. This is a problem. This is a problem for her because this means her musters are directly responsible, her supporters, for attacking my income. The aspect connectivity with Shirley Weber is that she did not want to do her job when asked to do less than 5 minutes. 5-minute phone call to verify the status of the reality of records that were in the control of her office and deal with the demand for action that day, as well as other ones. I can refer to the document as more like kind of sort of the finalized document, but you have other interactions all along the way, where basically the problem is she didn't want to check and verify that basically when people go out and get signatures, they put their name on the sheet because you're certifying that you saw these people use their signature and sign the document. So the documents move forward, registered with the state. People pay money to have petitions circulated, so to speak. So it's a form of a bounty. It's considered a form of gig work to some people. So these documents prove beyond the shadow of a doubt that fully legitimately, that I was turning in documents via a source to the Secretary of State, to the office. Now keep in mind, some of these documents also were state-sponsored petitions. It's very important, by the way. There's a separate understanding about state-sponsored petitions. So she can't verify this. She can't handle the addressing that is basically saying that Shirley Weber needs to address what I'm saying. When I say Julie Sue, in effect, has arranged her office, shut down communications, and is blacklisting my income and monies ordered by Congress to be restored to me. Because the methodologies of shutting down the businesses basically ended up shutting down petition gathering. That's the way it worked. Well, Shirley Weber refused to address the finalization when I say, look, it's very simple. The state owes me money. They've shut down my income. Congress has ordered me to be paid, and this woman over here has decided to blacklist me, a candidate. That is an attack on the income of a candidate. That is an act of war defined by the Constitution and articles. And she is obligated to investigate and make sure that there is nobody attacking the process of elections in California. So this turns out this was a recall election. with a special added gubernatorial replacement just in case the recall goes through. So I was running for governor, and I'm waiting for the state to turn the money over that they owe me, because all of the types of businesses, actually nonprofits, that I work with, doing things, are all ordered shut down. All my avenues are shut down. All avenues of income were shut down. That's an act of war. Of course, I've kind of stated that. But nonetheless, just one of the avenues, reminding Shirley Weber that, yes, my income is under attack. The state of California owes me money. I need this investigated. I need this changed. And in, multiple different requests. I'm also stating that I need the ballot fee. You shut my income down. My income's been shut down 100%. I'm under financial attack. I'm zeroed out. I need the ballot money. I need the ballot fee to be made by the state. You need to give me the money that you owe me so I can be put on the ballot. Here is the information. Verify what has happened. Give me immediate direct credit and post my name to the ballot. And she refused to communicate. She refused to do her job. She refused to be the guardian appointed to protect the process of elections. That is the job. That is one of the main jobs of the Secretary of State of California, is to protect the process of elections. The ultimate high person with the entrusted authority to do so. So we have a mass dereliction of duty. Beyond the shadow of a doubt, it's inescapable because she wouldn't do her job. So this is what you call definitively a rigged election. A rigged election. So Julie Sue, Shirley Weber, and others are participants directly in the rigging of a California election to blacklist a candidate from being on the ballot. Now, overall, we have these really nice, neat computers nowadays that do these really wonderful items. And what they basically do is they do different estimates based upon various indicators, statistics, and whatnot. So based upon my methodologies of what I use in the course of my political activities, the activation of 12 RV units, running them on and off the freeway system, would have got a certain amount of exposure per hour on the LA freeway systems. This basically, for those of you who've never been on the LA freeway system, you would have to go there or look at some videos to understand the density of the bumper-to-bumper traffic. The intensity of the enormity of having all of these lanes, of having areas where you have not just 3, you have 4, 5, 6 lanes on either side of the freeway, jammed, packed full of cars. And frankly, the honesty of this is, don't think for one moment that driver's handbook talking about equal spacing it's different in various states. It was 4, 5, 7 car allowance. Oh, no, that doesn't happen on the LA freeway. It doesn't work that way. Just look at a few videos throughout the day and you will see people are traveling very close together. It's just the way the flow of traffic works. Basically about a car length apart. It's pretty tight. Sometimes tighter than that. So basically, as you have these clover leaves, as you would call them, for those that have never seen a clover leaf, if you have vehicles going on and off, anything that's large just really can't be missed. When you have an RV, when you have a motorhome-sized vehicle that is basically traveling up and down the road, and you have somebody's name on the side of it, it's inescapable. You know, political vehicles, kind of inescapable. So my name would have been exposed to basically 1 million people a day. This, of course, would have led to people also seeing other links, like to the websites. I had 200 websites, over 200 websites laid out. These, of course, also would have been listed on the ballot, which also was my request, that I needed the state to pay me the money that they owed me so that I could post my message on the ballot, which would have gone out to more than 10 million registered voters in the state of California. So what we have here is beyond saying that election fraud has occurred. What we have is a flat-out rigged election. So basically, you have the computers estimating what other types of candidates have utilized in the past. What are the examples of what other mechanisms other candidates utilized, and how did they work with advertising, what type of advertising, exposure ratings, websites, what type of exposure and strategies. So I laid forth the basic raw cogs of what my laid out plan was, my verified purchases of domain reservations, the partial construction of websites that was underway, the understanding of how many mobile vehicles were to be on the road, basically with my name on them, getting exposed to people who would see the name, and the reality of the written source of how many voters there are, and what the statistics are of how many voters would actually see somebody's name on the ballot and go to that website. So there's all these generalized statistics that the computers looked and figured out standard averages and came up with the estimate that effectively it estimated that I would have won the gubernatorial election area in California with basically 45% of the vote versus all the other different percentages of the other candidates. This, of course, took into account that in that particular election, that it was a recall election, and Newsom wasn't allowed to run. He could not be both the recipient of a recall and a gubernatorial candidate. So he couldn't be in both columns. So based upon the policies, the material, the issues, but mostly the reality factors of exposure, advertising, websites, all this other stuff, platform comparison was also compared, that I was basically going to be the effective winner in that contest. There would have been a runoff. I would have had to go through a runoff versus the Republican candidate at the time in California. And of course, California is a heavily Democratic state. But nonetheless, what's really important here is there's a lot of different things you can look at a lot of different ways. I'm also a realist. I understood that these statistical odds were that, well, quite frankly, a lot of people like Newsom. He was very popular, and it was unlikely that he was actually going to get recalled. But nonetheless, what this is crucially important. What this is no matter how many ways you slice this, you look at it, you examine it, what this is something called exposure. Exposure. So we have, beyond the shadow of a doubt, we have a rigged election. There's no doubt here. Absolute positive proof. So then the beginning sequence of starting running for the White House would have me, having been exposed, getting effectively 45%, the largest percentage group among all the voters from the gubernatorial special election, recall election. Basically, I would have been exposed to more than 10 million registered voters in the state of California. I believe that the number actually is closer to 14 million. It kind of floats up and down, and you got to figure out what's legit and not legit, what's disqualified. There were a lot of votes that were apparently disqualified out of Los Angeles, a lot of registrations that were considered not legit. That obviously would need more investigation. I have not done an intensive investigation of that, so it's hard for me to honestly comment on that area. But I can say that the understanding that me starting up my presidential campaign, having mass exposure to some of the most creative and most mathematically sound ideas for economics and moving your life forward that have ever been presented would have went out in the gubernatorial election, because connected to that was also connected my presidential run. Not just my intent for president, I was also starting my presidential run, which means that all these people would have had the opportunity to understand what my platform was to be a presidential candidate as well. Over 10 million registered voters in California would have been exposed. The media coverage of this would have effectively been nationwide. So I, as a competing candidate, lost nationwide competitive coverage. Blacklisting. Rigged election. So as we start out and as we end up into the presidential election, we still have Shirley Weber refusing to do her job to protect the process of elections in California. We still have the EDD refusing to pay a candidate their income that was ordered paid by Congress. We have a rigging of elections continuing, because there's more to this. There's more to the story. What I have laid out, people can pretty much, you can grab your head around it real fast and say, wow, yeah, there's logic there. It makes sense. This is just not some dark joke, lie combination coming out of somebody's mouth. This basically is all verifiable. This is the bona fide truth. This is definitive truth. So if we look at this to understand that Harris actually came from California. Harris was the California AG. There's more to the picture than meets the eye. Harris's office, prosecutorial offices, multiple prosecutorial offices from the records that I believe that we had accumulated on our research, refused to participate to our demands to prosecute police officers that had conducted themselves illegally and who were harassing a presidential campaign. And that would have been from my previous run for the 2008 presidential campaign, of which I had papers initially filed out of Little Rock, Arkansas. The state capitol building, literally you file right out of the state capitol building, right there in Little Rock, Arkansas. That's where you begin your process. That's where you file your first document. So here we have a candidate that repeatedly would come under attacks, and there's a lot of these. I believe we had more than 117 felony violations against these various parties. If you can imagine 117 violations committed by government employees against a presidential candidate. And then the effect of erroneous posting electronically being transmitted across state lines to effectively all states. Technically, it even taps into Interpol, so you could say worldwide. The defamation of character repeatedly of what was done and how mass dereliction of the prosecutor's office refused to do what? They refused to protect the process of elections. Again, the Secretary of State's office also, they refused to protect the process of elections. They refused to protect candidates that were being attacked. People's attacks that were inhibiting and causing problems to a presidential campaign. This is called dereliction of duty. The participant in these areas has dereliction of duty. There's many ways you can look at it. I'm going to spare you the long form of all the individual items and charges and just cover the base inescapable dereliction of duty. That is considered a form of treason under the Constitution and Articles. That is considered in relation to a candidate as an attack. And that disqualifies Harris from being a candidate to run for the presidency. The deepness of all these other interrelationships and associations, I'm not going to go into all of that right now. But what we have basically beyond the shadow of a doubt is a series of facts that equal that Kamala Harris is an illegal candidate. So as we are getting ready for that big, huge DNC convention, we have people who are running around as delegates that are being sought after when the DNC is refusing to disclose the truth to the delegates. The delegates are being lied to. Information to the delegates is being withheld. So here I am speaking, I do believe rather clearly, stating, hello, hi, I'm Michael Crosby, I'm running for president. I've stated these other facts. I've stated the reference to the Constitution and the Articles, and these parties have committed various illegal actions and effectively need to be removed from any form of ballot statuses, and that Harris is an illegal candidate. So, regardless of the fact that we have players who don't want to cooperate, they just want to ignore the truth. They want to ignore the truth no matter what it is. They want to play their idea of reinventing the game. Reinventing the game to many people is, oh, it's been decided, we changed, let's see, what's current? Oh, you have to file this type of paperwork. Oh, no, we changed that. Oh, that's right, we changed this. Oh, no, we changed it again. Oh, I don't know, there's 17 different ways that you're supposed to file it. We keep changing it. It's practical so we can stop people from disclosure. Plain and simple. In plain English, you're hearing it now. My voice. So, these people are committing crimes. Very serious crimes. Now, into this, if you've watched any of my previous material, you'd also understand that the mobile broadcast vehicles are also archives. Now, into this, we have a loss, effectively, overall, of all these continuous crimes because they've created a huge security problem. Lots of other different questions about things. So, as we have violence happening, as I have people shooting at me with bullets, these people's wicked dereliction of duty is inexcusable. It's just horrible. As repeatedly, the Secretary of State, Shirley Weber, refuses to act. The law is pretty clear. When you're responsible for creating situations like, oh, you attacked their income. Oh, you stranded a convoy, an entire fleet. Wow. Yeah, anything else? Yeah, I guess you've shut down all the businesses all the way around on how nonprofits run, so forth, etc. Oh, right. You've created a security problem. Yeah, you have invented a security problem for people that exploded. And all of this is done under what has been defined by many members of Congress as a period of ongoing insurrection. We have the January 6th event. We now have, I believe we are approaching that right at 1,000 convictions. California had, I believe, was more than 87 people that were officers or agents that directly participated that were convicted. These are government employees convicted in participating in this rebellion. So the liability aspect is definitely there. So we have people, they know what they're doing. When they blacklist people, when you blacklist a candidate and destroy their income, you know what they're doing. And if you have security problems and then other people come and attack, well, who's attacking? Well, see, that's part of what we need to investigate. And once again, dereliction of duty. They don't want to do their job. So we have, yet again, a whole nother series of charges about dereliction of duty, about violence, attempted assassination. The list is large. It goes on. So subsequently, let me get to the high points, the big high points. We have artifacts that have been lost that are older than the Constitution of the United States. As we have a fleet that has basically been destroyed, stolen, or lost. I'm almost speechless at the amount of paperwork that I've been filing, basically for years. The amount of phone calls, we're talking, I don't know, we were beyond tens of thousands of phone calls going when we were deeply into COVID. There's nothing like having 3 phones at a time trying to get through, as mass blacklisting on a scale that has never been engineered before was activated by Julie Su. Myself understanding, quite a bit about computers and AI, it's impossible to engineer that kind of blacklisting without intentionally doing it. It's not just a mistake. It's not just an error. No. This was intentionally done. A lot of material there. I can go there at a later time. So today, which is a Sunday, we are bringing out and putting ethics on the table. We are putting out the future of the country. We are comparing that the difference between the so-called 2 major candidates at the moment Their economic plans don't even come close to how AI identifies my plan, which I've stated many times, to restore new home construction directly to the citizen as owner builder, just like it was in 1750 for the average, 12 to 14-year-old that had to build their own home, that did it in 2 to 6 months mostly. Well, again, I've got a lot of material on how that worked. So this nightmare monster that we have created called our political system is complicated, and we now have a situation where the reality that the Constitution of the United States directly protects museums, archives, and artifacts. These items are specifically mentioned, and to violate these areas comes with a mandatory death penalty. Mandatory. So it's hard to say, hi, hello, how are you? Is this a good morning? It's a good question. I can just stand up and say, I believe that the word statesmanship is important. My name is Michael Crosby. I'm running for President of the United States.